Bamboula is an importer and a wholesaler of handmade products from 5 African countries: Kenya, Ghana, Uganda, Tanzania, and South Africa. We've been doing this work for the last 28 years. Kutztown actually chose me. My husband is on the faculty here. For the first 10 years of Bamboula, we had been operating in New York City, where I lived, and then decided to move out here. Bamboula on West Walnut Street is our physical warehouse. We receive merchandise from the African countries, and then we also fill the orders that we get from customers. We do baskets from all the countries where we source, But we always have to be thinking ahead, what's going to be the next thing to do. Now we're doing personal accessories. I mean, these bags, the sisal bags, are much more of a personal accessory.
I am the operations manager. So I kind of manage all the different aspects of Bamboula. I make sure that our incoming shipments are handled and our outgoing shipments are handled, plus just the day-to-day workings of dealing with customers and financial things, making sure that all the things that need to be ordered at the warehouse, that all happens.
I pretty much take care of our top customer, the company called Marisol, and they warehouse here. So we keep track of everything and we send out what they need to send out of their product. So they keep their product here, I keep track of it, and then if they need 20 of these to go to this location, I'm in charge of making sure that happens.
I purchased Bamboula from a woman who had run it for a number of years. She was sourcing products in the markets of West Africa. I bought it really to have access to her trade shows and her customer base and her suppliers. And then from there, I developed it into what it is now. And our focus is really to use artisan skills, but to create new products that will have great appeal in the U.S. market. She sourced her products in French-speaking Africa. That was one difference. But she did it primarily in the craft markets of those countries. So therefore, she really didn't focus on trying to create new products or to, tweak products. But she had a very nice collection, and she focused on baskets, textiles, and she did some little leather bags. She did a lot of beads, but I kind of realized, I didn't think I wanted to be selling this. Actually, I sold pretty much what she sold for the first couple of years. So I took the same trip that she took the first time and continued to do that. She gave me her journals from 3 years of her travel. So I had access to all the same suppliers.
We actually have an agent. We'll give him the order, and then he will go and he will deliver that order along with a deposit. We always give a deposit on our orders so the women have working capital so they can start producing the product for us. And then he will take that to, say, the women weavers, and he will give them their deposit that we always tell them how much, we're sending for that person. And then they'll begin the production of the product. And then periodically he will go out and he will go pick up the goods from their location, because some of them are rather remote. Like the sisal weavers are outside of Nairobi, so they're outside of the city. They're in a small village. So he will go and he will get rates from different airlines, or if we're going to ship a full container, he'll get all the rates and he'll do all the packing and do all of that. And then he'll take the goods to the airport or to the loading dock, whatever, pack it. We don't manufacture, but we purchase from small businesses. A lot of little micro businesses collectively pooling their things together and getting the product to, the American retail market.
You never know who's going to walk by your booth. And particularly the New York, well, it used to be called the New York International Gift Show. It's now called New York Now, but it is one of the largest trade shows you know, mainly for the gift industry, and it's the largest probably in the U.S. You know, there's some people, for example, in the past who just would never shop in handmade because they think, oh, handicrafts, you know. But handmade right now has a very good reputation.
You have to be able to prove that you are a business that can supply product. So Jasperdine, when she started, she's one of the longest exhibiting at the New York gift shows, so she's got seniority there. So if, for instance, if booths get changed around and we decide we'd like to move to a different booth, maybe with a better location, she can ask for that. But you know, you tend to want to stay in the same spot because our customers know where to find us. They come to look specifically for us in that location at the New York Gift Show.
One time, this person came into the booth and he didn't have, he wasn't wearing his badge, which is usually a sign that somebody from a big company.
Oftentimes, of one of these bigger companies, they take their tags and they turn them around so you can't see who they are. So it's like, okay, who was it? You know, what store was it from? Because they'll come around and they'll look at your booth and they'll look at your items and things like that.
And he said, yeah, I'd really like some samples and, you know, these items. And I said, well, I'd be glad to send them to you if you tell me who you are. And he was from Starbucks. So they were going to do a big celebration of Africa as the birthplace of coffee. And that's the largest order we ever got. It was $250,000. It was awesome.
You or I going directly to work with the artisans, you know, they really need that. They need us to be able to help them to facilitate getting this work that we can then take to a larger market. So there's that balance that we have to do.
Many of the artisans live in rural areas. Many of them are women, and they really don't have access to jobs where they can earn money for their families. And then, for example, the weavers, the sisal weavers, who are women, also do all of the growing of their fruits and vegetables. So they're tied to their home at certain times of the year, where they, you know, like they have to plant before the rains and they have to harvest after the rains. Most of this weaving is done at home. What happens is they pick up the materials from a central location and then they go home. They might walk 5 miles, or they might walk 2 miles, or they might live, you know, pretty close. So it gives them the flexibility they need for their other responsibilities. Fair trade is several things. It's a concept, and paying the artisan fairly and ensuring that his or her working conditions are conducive to healthy living. It's pretty significant. There are customers, there are stores that will only buy from fair trade members.
The Turkana baskets that are woven, different in the area of Kenya, about the recycled glass. So this is just a little added thing that just gives the consumer a little bit of information on how the product is made or where it's made.
There's always the challenge of getting enough orders to really keep your business funded and moving forward in a financial sense. We try to watch the market trends and watch what our competitors are doing, but sometimes we don't guess right, you know, in terms of a product that we try to sell.
We got some more of these in here, more stacks of these baskets. But then this is the Bulga basket, and you can see how it comes flat.
Yeah.
And it comes in a sack, so you'll see that they save on shipping because everything costs. Freight is expensive. They'll stick 2 of these together.
It's really hard for small wholesalers. And I think that's partly because of the internet, but also stores, bigger stores want to source directly, so they do everything they can to cut us out. But Disney has been a very good customer for us. I mean, we've probably sold to Disney for at least 15 years.
We have, these are some of the double cord shakers that we get.
So it's straw, right?
Yeah, you're looking for the straw ones, so these are, they all come, everything has to be marked and labeled with the country of origin on them. So these are some straw shakers. What is built down. Here's other instruments that we have. These are, they call them rat-a-tats. These are called cherub shakers. This is actually a nut that they string together. And this is all of this is going to Disney.
Peace Corps started the year after I graduated from college. And of course, we thought we were going to save the world. But I think it really turned out that the Peace Corps experience saved us, because it really gave us a much broader sense of the world and the fact of different people, and the fact that they're different cultures, and that people think a little differently than we do. They value different things. So it was very exciting. After being a volunteer, I went to graduate school at Columbia University in New York, and I also did my doctoral dissertation research in Ethiopia. So I went back and lived in a very small rural area where I was the only foreigner. And that's probably what planted the seed of my being interested in, well, particularly in Africa, and also, you know, eventually led to me being involved in Bamboula. The wholesaler really connects, you know, the artisan to a bigger market. The most rewarding aspect is working with the artisans, actually traveling to Africa. I always look at the craft markets in the countries that I visit, because I try to track what's coming, what's new, and then from there I can usually find out who makes the product, and if we're interested in getting samples or even ordering something, we can find the artisans. They're all kind of meaningful in the sense that I may not know the specific, you know, woman who's woven a basket, but I know the groups. I know what, you know, getting orders represents for them. And there are artisans that have worked with us over the years who you can really see the difference in their, you know, like their homes, or, you know, they've done renovations.
UPS driver, yeah, get a picture of him. Hello. This is John.
I like the people that I work with, and that's a big part of it. I do enjoy the job. I'm pretty much an organized kind of person, so it's fun to keep track of everything. That's why it drives me crazy when there's little situations that are off.
Getting orders from big companies in the US, you know, like Disney and J. Crew and Eileen Fisher and Lucky Brand. It's a recognition of artisan work. There's acknowledgement in the mainstream market for what we're doing. I think that's very satisfying.
I think it's the collective effort that we all put in. I have always said that one of the things that we don't recognize when we purchase something is how much effort goes into all of it, and how we are all a team. It's not just Bamboula who is selling the product to our end consumer, but it's the fact that we, Bamboula, we also work for our artisans. We don't just work for ourselves. We don't just work for the end user. So all along the line, each one of us works for one another. So the women who are doing our sisal bags for us, you know, they work for us, but then they're also working for their children. It's kind of that collective group of a community. Well, I think that's the most satisfying, that I know that the work that I do when I am nice to my customer here, that goes a lot longer for building a relationship with my customers, who will then in turn hopefully like to deal with me, like to deal with Bamboula, and that we can then continue to support our artisans.